Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, May 24th. We will begin tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America,
to the republic,
and to the republic
which stands one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty,
and
justice for all. Okay. Thank you. So good night, good evening. So tonight's meeting will begin with organization, pledge of allegiance, and reading of the mail. We will have a discussion regarding vice chair. That will be followed by department board updates and requests. We have human resources and introduction of our interim human resources director. We have the DPW approval of MS4 year 3 and 4 contract with Tie and Bond. DPW fiscal year 2022 transfer station fees. We're going to set a public hearing to discuss those. We have Elder and Human Services, acceptance of a gift donation. That will be followed by a operations update regarding the library. At 7:10, we will have public input and members updates. There's going to be a discussion regarding the length of public input. That will be followed by appointments. We have 3 appointments to the Economic Development Committee. At 7:40 p.m., we're scheduled to have select board discussions. We have an update on the soil removal permit at 9 Air Road, a discussion regarding board and committees training. And at 7:40 p.m., we have annual town meeting warrant for June 12th, 2021, the select board article assignments. That will be followed by the town administrator and assistant town administrator update. The first is regarding public buildings reserve fund transfer request. Second is a discussion regarding human resources and updating the job description. The third is a memorandum of agreement with the Littleton Electric, Light and Water Department, Littleton Electric and Light Department for electric services for the new Reuben Hoare Library. That will be followed by a approval of the minutes, select board minutes from May 10th, 2021 and May 17th, 2021. And then our select board meeting will adjourn for the evening. So if you could, Mr. Ansaldi, start us off. Do we have any mail?
Madam Chair, it's actually been a quiet week since last week, and we have nothing new to add for mail.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And so next on the agenda, we have a discussion regarding vice chair. Mr. Ansaldi,
Madam Chair, can I?
Yes.
Last meeting when we reorganized and I was nominated, I was under the impression my colleague from years and years ago did not want that position. I have since then talked to Mr. Glavy. He would like to assume that role. So with your permission, I'd like to step down and if I could nominate Paul at the same time. I don't know if that's the correct procedure.
Okay. Is that the correct procedure, Mr. Ansaldi?
That would be fine. So we just need a second and.
Second?
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded for.
Don't I have to accept the nomination first, man?
Minor technicality, Paul, minor
All right.
technicality.
Right. Okay. So do you accept the nomination, Mr. Glavy?
Only after a short speech. Just want to say this. I intend to do absolutely nothing with the job, except since I don't believe there are any responsibilities other than to fill in when the chair is not able to perform the chair functions. And otherwise, I will use the job to make sure that anything that comes into our office is disseminated to all the membership as quick as possible. There you go.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So Mr. Knox is going to be stepping down as vice chair. Mr. Glavy has been nominated and accepted his nomination as vice chair. We have a motion's been made and seconded. So all those in favor, Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Mr. DeCoste is aye.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. And so the motion is approved. So Mr. Glavy will resume the role of vice chair after the select, after town meeting. I think we made all of these appointments to take place after town meeting on June 12th.
Correct.
Okay, and so next we have human resources. We have introduction of our interim human resources director. So
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, if I could. Today was the first day that Jennifer Dever Wood joined us as the interim Human Resources Director. I supplied Jennifer's resume for the packet. Jennifer has extensive knowledge of working for the city of Medford for 4 years as in a dual role as the chief of staff as well as the personnel director for the city. So I was fortunate to grab Jen while she's in between and jobs. Hopefully I can keep her as long as I can, or as long as we need until we fill the position. So Jennifer is right here. Jennifer, if you want to just say a few words, introduce yourself, and if any members want to have any questions, I'm sure Jennifer would love to talk.
Good evening, Jennifer.
Good evening, all, and thank you very much for the time to introduce myself. I am looking forward tremendously to this opportunity and to work with you all. I am very impressed with the limited knowledge I've had today of your community. It's a great community. There's a lot of great people that I've met so far. I appreciate the faith that the town administrator has in me, and I just think this will be an excellent opportunity for all. If whatever I can do to assist the board and assist the town of Littleton, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And any questions from the board for Jennifer? Mr. Glavy?
More a statement than a question. Just reading over your resume that was included in our packet. Very impressive, and I think we're lucky to have somebody with your background be available to us on such short notice. And I think Anthony must have shared with you, being the old political hand that I am. When I saw the name Dever, I immediately had to think, let's see, from that part of the world, she's got to be related to either former county commissioner Jack Dever or former Governor Paul Dever. So you got to answer my curiosity on that one.
I will answer A and B. I'm very lucky with my lineage. It's served me well as a door opener.
Yeah.
My life, but I've had to take that name and parlay it into the work that goes with it. So I come from a very proud family name. Yes, correct. My uncle and great uncle.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Of course, Paul, Jennifer also wanted to remind me that for the last governor that was the last time an attorney general was elected to governor. And there's been a couple of opportunities since then where they tried, but so secretly Jennifer's still wishing that continues on in perpetuity, that nobody else gets that honor. So
yeah,
I'm a little competitive that way.
My dad spoke very highly of Governor Dever. I mean, just from a distance, said he was a very good governor back in the 50s. A lot of public works construction went on during the years he was in office.
It's amazing. The whole infrastructure should be dedicated for him, because he was the framework for I-93.
Yeah.
And his
President Eisenhower might want a piece of that action too. But like my dad said, there were billboards all over the state that had his picture on it. They would say, "Pardon the inconvenience, Governor Paul A. Dever."
catchy.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Well,
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Comment for Jennifer? No? Well, thank you very much for taking the time to meet the board this evening, and welcome aboard. We appreciate you, like Paul said, stepping in on such short notice to assist us.
It's my pleasure. I look forward to working with you all. And again, I appreciate Mr. Insaldi and Mr. Layden's. It was very helpful this morning, as we set our framework as to what we're all trying to accomplish.
Excellent. Great.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, Jen.
Thank you very much, all.
Okay, so next on this evening agendas, we have DPW approval of the MS4 year 3 and 4 contract with Ty and Bond. So we have Mr. Stoddard on the call.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So I think the first one is for the contract for Ty and Bond. So this is part of the MS4 permit. We're into years 3 and 4 now into the permit. This contract is for the engineering services for that contract, including public education, outreach, continued drainage system mapping, catchment investigations, phosphorus removal tracking, stormwater BMP, retrofitting, inventorying, all the permitting, the paperwork side of it, reporting, record keeping, and then the annual employee training. This is we're still funding this through that $300 or $300,000 appropriation from the cell tower funds, the Clean Lake funds. We're still using that 300. We're getting close to the end of that, but with some creative thinking and using some interns in the last few years, we've been able to save some of that money. So we're not here to ask for more money. We just need you to sign the contract that we already have money for. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Any questions for Mr. Stoddard?
No brainer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll move that the select board vote to authorize the town administrator to execute the contract in the amount of $99,200 with tie and bond for professional engineering services to complete multiple permit year 3 and permit year 4 requirements of the 2016 small MS4 general permit.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox? Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Chuck DeCosta's aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
And Cindy Napoli's aye. The motion is approved as written. Thank you. And we are next on the list, DPW fiscal year 2022 transfer station fees. Set a public hearing date.
Yep. So we're hoping that the board would set the hearing for June 7th, although I'm reading the motion, Anthony, is the first, and a typo, because in the motion it says June 1st. I'm assuming, okay. Yeah, so we're hoping that you would set the hearing for June 7th. We are actually not proposing any rate increase this year, so that would be probably, I think, a first for me. We've been able to, because we've purchased the new truck, the new roll-off truck that we're going to utilize this year once our existing contract is up. We ended up saving almost $25,000, about almost $20,000. So with that, we don't see that we need to raise rates this year. We're hoping, obviously, moving forward that we can, if we do have to raise them in the future, that we don't have to raise them as fast. That's pretty much it. Like I said, we just need to set the hearing date. Oh, and just so everybody knows, Saturday, the 29th, the swap shop will be open again. So hopefully everybody will be happy about that.
You've made my family very, very happy.
I don't think you're the only family in town that's happy now. So how about that?
So
Had a couple phone calls.
Recently we haven't, but yes, it's a steady stream of people asking. So
Sorry.
now that they've dropped all the restrictions, we feel it makes sense to open it back up again.
Great. Good news.
I should be changing the date in this. Is that correct, Anthony, Chris?
Yes,
Yeah.
Paul.
Okay.
June 7th was the next meeting. Chuck, you have a question, though, Paul, before you read.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
So, Chris, you mentioned the swap shop. What about the recycling of cans and bottles? I know that the Scouts have done it in the past, and as a fundraiser, any number of organizations have been down there. Is that something that we're looking to get back online?
Yeah, absolutely. We could. We just need the group, the organization who wants to utilize that area. We have no problem opening that back up again.
Great.
We had it closed recently just because we haven't had many groups coming forward. But if a group wants to come forward, feel free, please, because we end up sending it away and it actually costs the town money. So
Right. Yeah, that'd be great, because there have been some people concerned about all of the returnables going into the recycling, and so that's a great opportunity for different organizations. But thank you.
yeah, and any bottle that doesn't go in the recyclables saves us weight. So
In tonnage, right?
All right, excellent. So we're ready for a motion?
Yep. Move that the select board vote pursuant to Town Code Chapter 181 to schedule a public hearing for Monday, June 7th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. on the fee structure and regulations for the use of the Town of Littleton Transfer Station effective July 1st, 2021, and further to invite input from the general public, the Board of Health, and the Highway Department.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Chuck DeCosta's aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
And the motion is approved as amended by Mr. Glavy. Great, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Next on the agenda, we have Elder and Human Services accepted gift donation.
I think this should be the weekly Elder and Human Services acceptance of gifts, right?
Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you. So Ed of Ed's Weenies is continuing to donate his monthly tips to the department for families in need. And in April, his donation was for $600. And at a prior select board meeting, Cindy, you had asked how much Ed has donated to the town. So prior to July of 2020, when he chose to select the Elder and Human Services Department, he had been donating to the school department, specific to the libraries, so that students could pick the books that they wanted to read instead of what the teachers had recommended. And it's really amazing to see what he has done in the community. And he considers himself a vehicle for people to contribute to and then donate back out. So in total, through the community's donation, he has donated to the Elder and Human Services Department and to the school department $23,865.29.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
That
So
is
thank you.
incredible.
Thanks to Ed and everyone who has been a part of that. And then the second donation, at the last select board meeting, the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging had contributed $504 to support the senior box program through administration of our department to seniors in the community that could benefit from the fresh produce. And Jamie Cruz of Springdale Farms continues to match whatever is being purchased. So she matched with $504. Again, very generous on her end. So we thank both Jamie and Ed for their continuous donations.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for that update.
Sure.
Matthew, does the clerk-elect want to take a shot at one of these to get yourself into the rhythm of things?
Yes. And I also, I think when we are back in person, I feel like we should recognize that Ed's donation, $23,000, is a very significant amount of money, no matter how you slice it. And that's an incredibly generous thing.
Mhm.
So I move that the select board vote in accordance with its policy on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose to approve donations to Elder and Human Services, $600 from Ed's Weenies and $504 from Jamie Cruz of Springdale Farm.
Second.
Excellent. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus,
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste,
Dr. Coates is aye.
Mr. Glavy,
Aye.
and Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as written. Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Jamie Cruz and Ed from Ed Sweeney's, for your generosity, and thank you everybody for supporting those local organizations as well.
Absolutely.
To Ashley's point, they're the vehicle for the support that they're giving to the Council on Aging. So, participating in supporting those businesses is certainly giving back to the community directly. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And next we have a library operations update.
Hi, everybody.
Sam, hi.
Hi. So I'm just going to give you an update on what the library has been up to and our plan to reopen in a couple of weeks. So for the past year since COVID began, we've been offering patrons curbside pickup and computer appointments. And for the past few months, we've been allowing patrons in by appointment. And we're happy to announce that on June 7th, we plan to reopen to everyone without any age limits, without appointments. You can come in, just like you normally would before COVID. So we're really excited to let patrons come in again and use the library and use our services and computers and everything. Also, just wanted to give you an update on the construction. On August 20th, we anticipate the library construction will be complete by late August. It's actually trending a little earlier, so we're hopeful it'll actually be before that. And once they're done, it'll take the library about 2 to 3 weeks to move into the new space. And finally, we are also happy that we reached the $1 million goal for fundraising and donations. So I want to say thank you to everyone who was involved in that. Everyone did a great job. Thank you to the Littleton community for everything they did to help get us to that goal. So any questions?
Any questions for Sam from the board?
I don't know about questions, but it's always good to hear an update on a major construction project without, and then this happened, and then that happened, and this delay, and that delay. And count our blessings. We're not out of the woods yet, but so far so good. Great job to all involved.
Excellent. Great.
All right.
Thank you very much, Sam, for the update. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank
Good
you.
news. Thank you. And next on the agenda, we have public input members updates. We have a discussion regarding length of public input. So you're going to lead this into this, Mr. Ansaldi?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, please. So I put this on the agenda really as a result of our last meeting. You know, the select board has a lot of business to do, and we have limited time to do it every other week. So last meeting, if you recall, we had public input, which is very important to hear, but it also pushed off some items like discussing the articles for town meeting, which required the select board now to vote to have a separate meeting to discuss that. Many communities, and I just want to bring this to the board's attention for what the pleasure might be to look into this, but many communities will certainly they like public input. It's an important opportunity for the public to speak, but they'll limit it. So they'll say, you know, we'll carve out 10 minutes and, you know, no more than 2 minutes per person. So that allows 5 community members maybe to say something. Other communities also, you know, they'll include that if somebody wants to be long and they want to include a letter or something for the select board's packet, that send it to the town administrator in advance and we'll include it in the packet. Other communities where actually require people to sign up in advance of public input through the town administrator's office, and this way to just as a way to keep the meeting flowing. So certainly, well, you know, I'm not looking to restrict anybody's freedom of speech. You know, that's important. It's something that I didn't know if the board wanted me to look into anything as far as that or what the pleasure may be.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I know there was a lot of talk on social media this past week about communication with the board and how to improve that. And so, you know, public input is certainly one of the mechanisms that we like to utilize to permit the public to communicate with us. But I think if there's a way to improve upon it, like you said, without being overburdensome to our agenda and the items that we already do have specific items scheduled to discuss, but also to be able to provide the public with an opportunity to engage with the board in a constructive and productive manner. If there's something, you know, some of the suggestions that you just made are interesting to me, but I'd like to hear what other members of the board have to say about any way that we could improve upon public input based upon Mr. Ansaldi's suggestions in summary.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure.
I think I would like to approach this the way we do town meeting, which is I think it's completely fine to request that people stay on topic, and it's fine to limit the time that they have to speak. But I feel pretty strongly that this is the one place and time when they have an opportunity to, you know, inform us. And I don't ever want to restrict the total time allowed. If people want to continue talking to us, I feel like we should listen. And I think honestly, it's sort of the most important thing. We're supposed to be listening to the town and doing what they ask. And I'm probably as sometimes as frustrated as anyone about the duplicated talk, and I understand people sometimes just go on and like to hear their own voice like I am doing right now. But I do want to make sure we don't cut anyone off. We don't disallow anybody from speaking. It's just about the only time when they have a forum in front of us. I mean, letters are fine, but it's not the same including a letter in the packet as it is speaking.
Okay. Any other comments from other board members?
Like all of us. Go ahead.
I agree with Anthony. At one point, there was on the agenda dating way back, there was never even public input. It's there for a purpose. It's great. It's an avenue for people to talk to us. At the same time, I think people can make their point within 2 or 3 minutes and get their point across. And I don't have a problem limiting it to 2 or 3 minutes, because you can, if you have something that's really important, you can get it in during that time. If people want to go through a topic and repeat themselves over and over again, I think we should have the opportunity to say, okay, you've made your point and move on. Once again, I think it's very important to keep it there, let people speak, voice their opinions on any topic. But at the same time, I don't want to see one person go on for 5-10 minutes when they certainly could have made the point a lot quicker than that.
Okay. Any other comments?
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I saw you were jumping before, so I didn't want to
I saw you raise your hands.
Well, we were. I think it is an important part of our meeting. By the same token, this is it's a business meeting of the board, and I hate to see it get too regimented. People might think on the spur of the moment, hey, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but now I want to after I, heard a couple of topics or whatever it is. So I don't want to put people through a sign-up system or anything like that. Just let common sense and courtesy prevail, and the strong arm of whoever the chair is. And 1 to 2 minutes is usually enough to say your piece and move on. And if it's longer than that, maybe you don't want to put it in a letter. Well, that becomes a part of the permanent record. But you can give us a letter, and then you can just, hit a couple of high points. But to have people reading things at length, that's not the intent, I don't think. So hopefully we don't have to get too formal about it, but I'd like to keep it free and easy and then fast moving. The last thing we want to do is start letting our public input session become a mirror of a Facebook page or something, so we don't need that. So hopefully we can continue not to have that be the tenor of things. But let's just do it, and kind of maybe we need to remind the public from time to time who don't, may not be used to this process, that's how we run it. We keep it free form. You can talk about whatever you want, as long as it's not, getting outside of legal bounds or, injuring somebody's reputation. But, and then make it brief and move on.
Okay. Mr. DeCoste?
Yeah, Paul, you kind of hit my major point right there at the end.
I gave you the chance, Chuck. I gave you the chance.
No, it's good. It's good to, I think we need to revisit and re-educate the public, because the public input portion of our agenda is, in fact, to allow the public to speak to us and to raise concerns and to bring things forward, or to comment or to compliment us from time to time. But when there's something that's really not germane to us, if it's an article on a town warrant that is an article that's put forward by the planning board, as it was, in our last meeting, it wasn't the proper forum, in my opinion, for that discussion. I do think we need to create some sort of limits or expectations on our part that we do have business to perform. And I think it does ultimately lie at the chair's gavel. And I think, what was the other thing I said? Just to Matthew's point about we're supposed to be listening to all comers 100%. And frankly, every single one of us takes a number of phone calls and a number of emails and different meetings at any one of the grocery stores in town or what have you. So Aubuchon, whatnot. So we're pretty available. So if somebody does have something that they'd like to speak to, any one of us can be reached. So I'm not really terribly concerned about us not listening, because we are listening, and we're very available. Our emails are out there, our cell phones are out there. I don't necessarily think that a rant or a position paper should be read at our public input session. I think it's a good place to bring things forward, potentially ask us that, when can you discuss this topic or that topic, or, that kind of thing. But I do think part of that lies upon our shoulders. We're complicit here, and we need to educate the public on what our expectations are from public input. And I think some of Anthony's input as to what other towns are doing is good input, and we could probably garner some tidbits from that. So I concur with all my colleagues, but I do think that it needs to be residents need to be aware that we are trying to conduct business, and they're by all means come forward and speak your mind. And oftentimes we will say, well, we're going to be discussing that later in our agenda, so we'll give you an opportunity to speak then, so we can kind of yield the floor until later in the meeting, as long as we do give them that opportunity after public input, if there is an item that's on the agenda that is going to be discussed.
Right.
So
Right. And that has been the rule of thumb in the past. If it's an agenda item, to hold off on public input until that time. But I think, it doesn't have to be one specific mechanism. To Mr. Ansaldi's point, if someone wants to write a letter to the board, we can certainly have that available to the public as well. But I think just, keeping public input the way it is right now, but just hoping that residents understand the intention of public input. And to, I think it was Mr. Glavy's point or someone's point, if it's about a warrant article that's coming up to be debated at a town meeting, maybe public input with the select board, it's something being brought forward by the planning board, for example. Public input to our board is probably not the most productive avenue for that, especially if it's a long statement. So I think we should just keep it the way it is. And, to everybody's point, just re-educate the public about the intent of public input and what our expectations are. And hopefully, those align with the public's expectations, and we can just continue to have an open dialogue with the public during public input, which is right now. So do we have anybody on the line, Mr. Layden, for public input?
At this time, no one has their hand raised.
Okay.
Worked already.
they're all afraid.
Mr. Knox, do you have anything to share for members updates?
I'm all set right now.
Mr. Glavy?
Just to clarify, when a moment ago when Sam Alvarez was talking about the library operations, he was talking about the opening up after the COVID thing, obviously, but I was focusing on his written report, which the viewing public might not have been aware. I was excited about the prospects of the completion of the construction project in August, and the 2 to 3 week subsequent after that date, perhaps moving into the new building. So that's great news. I didn't want that to get lost in the shuffle.
Yep. It's exciting. Excellent news. Mr. DeCoste, do you have anything to share?
I really just want to share a quick little story. I was out shopping over the weekend, and just about Littleton being a great community. There was an older gentleman who was engaged with a high school age kid, and asked if they went to Littleton High School, and the conversation ensued. Kid's a graduate this year, and it was kind of cool to see a senior citizen engaging with one of the high school students, and just gave me a little warm feeling in my cockles, just that it's Littleton, it's we're all in this together, and one great community. So it was kind of cool. I just wanted to share that little story.
That's excellent. Mr. Nordhaus, do you have anything to share?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So I have two things to share. One is I wanted to just let the public know that Bunks Across America is taking place again on June 12th. This is brought forward by Sleep in Heavenly Peace. It's an organization started by, I believe it's the Concord Rotary, Chris Alphin, who owns Dolphin Insulation is a member of this organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and they build beds for children that don't have any. And there are many children in Littleton and local communities that actually sleep on the floor. So this is an incredibly great organization. I think every board member probably has participated in this event at one time or another. So they're doing a building event at Concord Lumber on White Street on June 12th from 11:45 a.m. until 3 p.m. They're looking for 250 volunteers. The goal is to build 100 beds. And it's really a very streamlined and exciting process. It's fun. It's a great community event. There's going to be door prizes. There's a DJ. There's food. There's plenty of water. You don't need to bring anything. They give you all the face masks and all the gear that you need to participate. It's for ages 12 and up. So if you are within the 12-year-old range, you do need either to be with a guardian or to have a permission slip from a guardian to participate. But they're really hoping that people will come out and support this organization. As I said, it's really exciting that we have this in our communities, building on what Chuck said about something that makes Littleton such a special place, and having a local business owner join this organization and utilize his resources here and support from the community to really make a difference in somebody's lives, a child's life, by building them a bed it's pretty incredible. And it's just a great event anyways to be there and to participate in it. So hopefully residents will come out on June 12th to participate in that. And the other thing that I wanted to just mention to the public, there was some talk on social media about it. So I'm just going to put it out there regarding the planning board article, which will come up later when we're reviewing our articles of the 40R zoning bylaw change is not going to go forward at town meeting. There's been some discussion about just doing more public outreach with respect to that article specifically to educate the public better about it. So I just wanted to, put the rumors to rest that article will be not going forward, but there are plans to bring it back in the fall after more education and outreach is done with the public. And that is all I had to share. And so now we are on to appointments. We have 3 appointments for the Economic Development Committee.
Madam Chair, I see one Shannon Mcnulty here. I don't see the others. And it was on the agenda for 7:25, but seems to be we're running early today.
Oh,
we're normally running late, but it's we're a little early.
Right. Well, we have Shannon, so we can start with Shannon. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So Chuck, do you want to lead us into this, or do you?
You're muted, Chuck.
You're muted.
I said some really good stuff then too. So about a month ago, April 15th or so, something like that, April 21st, whatever, we had kind of an open economic development committee meeting and meet the candidates kind of night. And we invited a bunch of people to come out and find out what the economic development committee was about. Shannon was one of the folks that came out, and I think she'd be a great asset to the board because she was folding laundry, she was taking care of childcare, and she was performing on Zoom and interacting with us. So I think she'll be. I don't know how she's going to meet if we meet in person. She's going to bring laundry baskets and they can put us all to work maybe.
I
But
say everyone can help with the laundry.
there you go. I love it.
Done.
Yeah. So we have had a challenge over the last couple of years having a quorum for the Economic Development Committee. We haven't been able to keep members for different reasons. Delisa moved on to the planning board. Neil had to move on for personal reasons. Ivan stepped aside and is focusing on his light and water and the cemetery commission. So we had some pretty strong players that for different reasons had to leave. So we've been working to try to make the Economic Development Committee as viable and as strong and as interactive as it has been in the past and as it is in other communities. So I'm excited to have candidates before us. One thing I don't see on the roster, the current composition, is Mr. Davis, Brendan Davis' name, who I know he had submitted it. I think we had voted on him.
I think last year, didn't we?
I think we appointed him last year, but it's not represented under the current composition. Pardon?
Okay.
On the control sheet, Chuck? Is that-
Yeah, his name's not on there, but it should be.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
but yeah. So if we're taking them one at a time, I absolutely think that Shannon will be a great asset for us, and great energy. And spoke with her. She came up to me at the polls, and it just I'm excited to work with her.
Excellent. Great. Any questions from other board members for Shannon, or other
Madam
than
Chair?
thank you?
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask this of each of the new appointees, just to let the public know, and us too. I'd like to know, what background you bring to the board. Like Chuck, or prior to Chuck, I was a former member of the Economic Development Committee. It's a very important chore, but it's a committee that it's advisory to us. It's to my mind and my experience, it performs two important roles, because it doesn't really have any statutory or bylaw or regulatory authority, but it's a cement between a lot of different pieces of the town superstructure that all affect economic development, whether it's us, whether it's the Master Plan Committee, the Planning Board, the various offices, Light and Water Commission. It's tying all that together, our website. And then there's the whole proactive piece to it, the things that we're not doing that we need to do to either outreach to businesses to come to the town, to keep the businesses we have and address their needs, to keep people, dialogue going, and the interaction between the business association and other individual businesses, all that stuff. What it's, but I'm saying that as much for the public audience as you, but if you just take a moment, Shannon, and let us know a little bit about yourself, why you're interested, and what you bring to us, to this committee.
Sure. So my name is Shannon Mcnulty. I moved to Littleton with my husband, Tyson, just actually almost exactly 6 years ago, last week. And we started our family here. We have 2 children, a son, Marshall, who will be 5 and starting kindergarten in the fall. And our daughter, Arlen, turns 3 on Saturday. I have become more interested in kind of more civically minded in the last year. And when I saw the posting for the open meeting for the Economic Development Committee, it seemed like a really good opportunity as a young parent, as kind of a newer member of the community, to get involved, to kind of bring that younger voice to the committee as well. I am a 13-year veteran public school teacher. I teach down at Marlborough High School. So I have a lot of experience. I should mention I'm a music teacher. I'm a chorus director. So I have a lot of experience bringing large groups of people together to work towards the common goal. I'll have Chuck singing in no time. And
Shannon, no.
Chuck likes to sing. Chuck was, yeah.
But all jokes aside, I am really, really excited to kind of bring some energy and bring my perspective to the committee. And I feel very honored to be considered to be a part of this really important work.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other comments for Shannon, Mr. Nordhaus?
I listened to the meeting that you attended a month ago or so, and I was very impressed with all the candidates. I really liked hearing the new viewpoints, I guess, and the enthusiasm. And I always appreciate it when people step up and volunteer. It's incredibly important for the town. And thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Shannon, do we have any other comments from anybody, or are we ready for a motion?
Do you want to do them individually, Madam Chair, or it makes no difference. I suppose we can do that. Yeah. I'll move that the Select Board vote to appoint Shannon Mcnulty to an indefinite term on the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
I saw Shannon's eyebrow lifted a little bit when she heard indefinite, but I'm
Yeah, I know. I was wondering if she caught that.
I did.
as a matter of form, Anthony, we probably should make those annual for any of those rather than indefinite, because we do end up making the appointments annually anyway, so.
Yeah, I was talking to the planning query, our town clerk about that today, that it probably makes sense to set some terms on those, on all the positions. That
Right.
Something we can look at certainly later.
Okay.
After we approve Shannon indefinitely.
Of course,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
You might be the last indefinite candidate.
Lucky for you guys.
We're in.
Where was I? Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Did I call on you, Chuck, Mr. DeCoste? I did.
You did.
Master Nordhaus?
Yes, aye.
And I called on Mr. Knox, right?
Yep.
Yep, and Cindy Napoli is aye. So the appointment is approved as written. Thank you very much, Shannon, for stepping forward. Looking forward to working with you and moving forward with the EDC.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, if the other two individuals, it could be under a different name. So if there's a Linda B. or a Leona Turgeon.
Leona is on her way in.
Okay.
Just to let Shannon know while we're bringing Leona in. Oh, Shannon, don't go away yet. You do have to go to the town clerk's office and get sworn in. Any member that gets approved needs to get sworn in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Great. Thank you. Leona, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Yourself?
Good. Thank you.
Can you see me?
We can hear you. We can't see you.
Okay. Let me see if I can switch this around.
Okay.
There should be a button that says start video.
I'm not seeing a start video.
I just sent you an invitation to ask you to start. There you go.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. Hi. How are you guys?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic
Good.
for a Monday night.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for stepping forward and volunteering for the Economic Development Committee. Appreciate that. And so if you want to just tell the board a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to join the Economic Development Committee, that would be great.
Okay, absolutely. My name is Leona Turgeon. I moved to Littleton about 16 years ago. I am a grandmother raising a granddaughter that is now 12. She is in the system. So I have been very active in her sports and activities and what's going around in the schools. I feel revived as an older woman, as getting to know people in the town that are her parents that go to the schools. Does that make sense? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I nervous? I'm not really sure. But anyway, so I did a lot of fundraising for Littleton Youth Football and Cheer for a few years, which I absolutely loved. And I continued to do that for a little bit, and she stopped doing cheerleading. So I'm like saying to myself, why am I still on the board? But I figured I always have the need to give back and do something. I feel fulfilled when I do. So I have that. I worked with a lot of business in the community and other parents trying to raise money for Littleton Youth Football and Cheer and other organizations. So I've reached out to all of the community. So I have a lot of experience trying to raise money and talk to the people and get them engaged in what's going on. So I feel that I would bring a lot of help to the board. I am a former operations manager for a large retail company. I did that for over 35 years. It gets tiring, working weekends and nights, and I now have a life, but I have time and I want to give back. I feel that, excuse me, we got a new puppy. I apologize for the noise in the background. Of course, nobody's around to help out. But I think I'm really proactive in outreaching to the community. And I love to see Littleton move forward with revitalizing the common and getting that going, and something to be proud of. I
Excellent.
apologize again. Cindy,
That's
you
okay.
didn't know I got a puppy. I'm sorry.
I did know you got a puppy.
You did.
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Leona. Does any questions or comments for Leona from the board?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Leona.
coming forward, Leona.
Thank you.
Ready for a motion, Madam Chair?
Please.
I move that the select board vote to appoint Leona Turgeon to an indefinite term on the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste,
Dr. Coast is aye.
Mr. Glavy,
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus,
Aye.
and Cindy Napoli is aye, and the motion is approved as written. Welcome aboard, Leona. Thank you again for volunteering.
Thank
I'm
you
pretty
so
sure the
much.
dog, voted too.
Yeah, I think she did.
Excellent. Do we have anybody else, Mr. Ansaldi?
If there's a Linda B, you raise your hand so we. So there was one other, Madam Chair, that doesn't appear to be here tonight. If you want to, up to the board, if you want to hold that off for next time, we can see if she can be here, if we have an opportunity to meet them, or if you want to do something different. Whatever the pleasure of the board is.
What are your thoughts on that, Chuck? Should we wait? You've never,
I've met Linda. I know Linda. I think she'd be a great addition, but I do notice that she's also
just popped
volunteering.
up.
She
Oh,
did
she
just
just
pop up.
popped up.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just gonna say I also noticed that she popped up. She
oh, there she is.
submitted for Council on Aging and some other committees
There
as
she
well.
is.
There she is.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Linda also has dogs.
Okay. I think everybody has dogs these days.
I have 2 dogs.
After COVID.
Right? Thank you, Linda. Thank you for volunteering for the Economic Development Committee. And I know that you've already met with the committee, but if you could just share a little bit about yourself with the select board, that would be wonderful.
Sure. I have worked in Littleton since 2014. I have also been a resident since 2018. I'm a realtor here in town since 2020. I reactivated my license, so I'm very plugged into the community, serving the community, and making sure that we can attract the right types of businesses. I also have a background. My background is in marketing, digital marketing. Been in the real estate industry for about 15 years in the state of Western Pennsylvania. So now I am a Littleton resident and I love this town.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Any questions or comments for Linda from the board?
Thank you for coming forward.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, same. Thank you, Linda.
Ready for a motion, Madam Chair?
Please.
Okay, move that the select board vote to appoint Linda B to an indefinite term on the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste,
Dr. Coast is aye.
Mr. Glavy,
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus,
Aye.
and Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as written. So Linda, thank you again for volunteering. If you can just go to the clerk's office and get sworn in.
Okay.
Okay, and welcome aboard. Thank you again.
Well, thank you. Look forward to working with everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Linda.
you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, before we move on, if I was just checking the website and checking with the town clerk, because I don't have Mr. Davis listed, but if in fact Mr. Davis has been sworn on and is on the committee chart, this after tonight's appointment, that would be 8. So the board last bumped, set the committee to 7 members on June 6, 2016. So you would just need to do another motion, and I'm sure that you've done this before, to just increase it to 8 if in fact Mr. Davis is on, Chuck.
We've changed the membership number
Yeah.
based on interest, mostly
Yep.
just to,
Okay, yeah,
So just we could just do a formal motion to increase it to the 8. just to account for everybody that was appointed tonight, including Mr. Davis and Chuck.
Okay.
That's right, 'cause Chuck's not on that list we got either, I don't think. Obviously, we know he's on there.
Well, including Chuck before, that would be 5, and then the 3 tonight would be 8. So we would just need a motion just to increase it to 8 members. And we'll reflect the change in the control sheet as well as on the town website. with tonight's motion. Which obviously I don't have prepared for you, but I think we can make one on the fly, Mr. Clerk.
You want to make the motion now, or you're not, rather not wait till the next meeting to do that? Or?
Chuck, is Mr. Davis on there?
He's not on the sheet, but he's on the board.
He's on the board, he's been going to meetings?
Yeah, he's been going to meetings. Okay, so you want to just take care of it tonight?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion then that the select board vote to expand the membership on the Economic Development Committee from 7 to 8 members.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
DeCoste, aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye, and the motion is approved as dictated by Mr. Glavy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have update on the soil removal permit regarding 9 Air Road.
Joe's going to take that one. He's been working.
Thanks, Anthony. Madam Chair, because on the agenda, this is 7:40, we're just about 10 minutes
Do you want to, I was going to say that, Joe, if you don't mind my interrupting, maybe we can go to some of the, there might be people that are tuning in at that time for that item. Maybe we can handle either items 7 or 8, which are administrative in nature, and get those out of the way first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you were going to say anyways, Joe, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go with item 7, Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator update.
I was going to say, we're almost done with 6 with select board assignments. That might be something I can share what we have so far. If you want to jump on that, Madam Chair, or if you want, we can go to the TA. Up to you.
Yeah, the assignments, I'm afraid, might.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they might take a little bit longer for whatever reason. Okay.
That's fine. So on 7A, and I'm just going to pull that up. We have an air conditioning unit, rooftop unit above the school department here at Shire Street that is no longer in operation and needs to be replaced. The unit, we received a verbal quote from one company, which is what we determined the dollar amount, and that's probably not to exceed $35,000. So we need to replace that. It's in the superintendent's office, and he's eager to have air conditioning as it's getting cooler. Chuck, no, you could give a fan, but so
we'll shut it up. We'll shut it off again next year in budget season.
So we're looking for a reserve fund transfer. So what I'm looking for tonight is the board support for the recommendation to the FinCom to support a reserve fund transfer in the amount of $35,000 to replace the air conditioning unit above the school department.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board on that?
Yep, Madam Chair, to Anthony, just for consistent with what your presentation was, should that say in the amount not to exceed $35,000?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We actually got the lower amount, Paul, so I ticked it up, to be honest, just to make sure that we didn't have to come back.
Well, I just didn't want to get in the position of formally transferring an amount and then have to transfer it back if we don't use all of it type thing.
It would fall to free cash after that, if whatever we didn't use. So 35 I think would cover us, and the rest would fall to free cash.
Okay, so all right, fine. You've answered my question. Thanks. Yeah. All right, then I'll leave the language as it is. Then I'll move that the select board support the reserve fund transfer in the amount of $35,000 to the public buildings FY21 budget.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
This is aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as written. And now we are on to item 7B.
I'm smiling because it's not every day that we get to run early, the select board meeting. So this is. I know.
Keep it moving.
Discussion regarding human resources, updating the job description.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. I'll take this, and Joe, feel free to add on as you see fit. So with with Bridget leaving us and submitting her resignation to us, it was an opportunity to really look at what the town really needs. And I think that the concept was right, that we were setting up for a professional human resources department. But I think we went, in my opinion, we went one short, where we really need a human resources director. And that job description was actually, that little section was included in the assistant town administrator's job description. And I had that when I was the assistant with the town, and Joe has it. And to be honest, we really never got into the nitty gritty of HR. We were kind of handling the things like discipline and so forth. So what I'd like to do is the two job descriptions that I included in your packet was really removing the assistant, the HR director from the assistant town administrator's job description, incorporating that into the HR manager. So that would elevate that up to an HR director. And another part that would increase, that would make that job go from Joe, is it an 11 to a 12?
Yep.
So an 11 is not a senior management position, and now it would be the lowest level in the senior management team. So it's my recommendation to the board and obviously to the personnel board to make those necessary adjustments so we can go out there and hire what really we need as an HR director, because it just doesn't handle for the town function. It handles for the schools, and with over 700 employees, it's a daunting task for somebody that, you know, we're really not that startup community. And if we could attract somebody that has the skills, and if we can steal them away from another community, I think we'd be well served. And certainly Superintendent Clenchy is in support of this. I've had that conversation with him. So that's the request that's before you this evening.
Okay.
Anthony, I might add on, but at the personnel committee meeting last week, we did discuss this, and there's another meeting scheduled for tomorrow night at 4:30 in anticipation of this vote, because everybody recognizes it's important to get this done so that we can post and get the position filled.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board on this? All right, excellent. Do we have a motion?
Okay, I'll move that the select board support the human resource director job description and posting of the position.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Dr. Coast is aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as written.
Before we move on, can I ask a quick question? Do we need to approve the changes to the assistant town administrator job description?
Probably,
yes. So if you want to just make that same motion and just change the assistant TA, we should have included that and made it one motion. But
yeah. Good catch. Let me see if that language is as easily. Well, all right, yeah, then consistent with the previous motion. Thank you, Matthew. Move that the select board support the changes in the job description for the assistant town administrator.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Dr. Coast is aye.
Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as stated by Mr. Glavy. And next we are on to a memorandum of agreement. Littleton Electric and Light Department. Mr. Ansel, do you want to lead us into this?
yeah, actually, Joe's been working on this one as well. It pertains to the new library. So Joe will go through what has to happen here.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks, Anthony. Madam Chair and board members, before you is a memorandum of understanding between the town of Littleton and Littleton Electric and Light Department for the provision of electric service for the library. Town council for us and legal counsel for Littleton Electric and Light have been discussing a formal arrangement as far as encapsulating what would typically be an easement that is granted to Littleton Light and Electric and Light to allow them to go onto a property to service a electrical conduit. In this case, that'll be under the ground, so that they can then go and service it in the future. Because of sort of some legal issues where essentially the town is granting the town a easement, which then there's a whole merger doctrine that comes into play. We're proposing this memorandum of understanding so that the library can get its electric feed as we then identify the best action going forward, including in this memorandum of agreement is also essentially a grant of easement that then once we finalize language with legal counsel for Littleton Electric and Light, the idea would be if there is anything that needs to be recorded, such as an easement or similar document, that would be brought before the town for special town meeting in the fall to then be considered and acted upon. So this was basically a instrument to allow for the installation of the necessary conduit to feed the library and allow us to go forward to provide that power and that legal mechanism to allow for Littleton Electric and Light to own what would be the equivalent of an easement.
Okay. Any questions from the board about this?
Yeah, just looking through the document, I just noticed that Joe keeps calling it electric and light, and that makes sense because it is both electricity and light department, but I think the official name of the department is Littleton Electric Light Department. And that's reflected in the MOU. So I just wanted to make sure that it was reflected that way, but going through it, it is.
I have a question for clarification, Madam Chair, too. Just the Joe, if you're able to answer. Does this replace an existing MOU, or is this something new that's required because either there should have been an easement before and wasn't for the prior locations where the library has been, or
just because it's a new building, Paul, so it's adding service to a new building. So it's just granting them the access to be able to service that building. So there was probably something years ago with this building right now that was
just lost over time or whatever.
Lost over time. So this is kind of just bringing in the new building into the picture.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? We ready for a motion?
I don't see a motion. Does this require any action on the board?
There
is one there. All right, hold on. There is. Yes. Never mind. You want to read this one in, Matthew? Or you
Sure.
Need to catch you off guard.
I will do this. I move that the select board authorize the town administrator to sign the memorandum of agreement with Littleton Electric Light Department for electric service to the new Reuben Hoare Library.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox? Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
DeCoste is aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as written. And it is 7:39. So we can move back on the agenda to item number 5, update on the soil removal permit at 9 Air Road.
I know Joe sent out an update to that, so I'll allow Joe to speak on this item as well.
Okay. I'm also going to, it's okay with the board, bring in the property owner who was going to provide an update as well.
Okay. So I see we have Mr. Fields on the call. We have Chris Heap on the call.
Can you hear me now?
And Mr. McKay.
Yes, thank you.
John Durkin.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening. You're going to provide an update?
So,
we have anyone
Madam
else,
Chair,
Joe?
Madam Chair, if I can just sort of like frame the discussion.
Okay.
In the board's packet, the board has a copy of a May 21st memorandum that I wrote, providing a summary of a recent site visit that occurred at 9 Air Road. That site visit was to to allow for town officials to meet with the fields and also representative from Onyx Corp to get an update on where soil removal activities at 9 Air Road were, given that we're coming up to now less than a month before the expiration of the soil removal permit. And at that site visit, invited the field to provide a presentation to the board with an update and also to review a plan. I'm going to bring Mr. Durkin in from Onyx to review a plan as far as where they are and what some of the remaining work is that needs to be done.
Okay. I see Mr. Durkin. Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to comment on that. Oh, excuse me.
Please. Yep. No, go ahead.
Sure. So thank you very much. We have Matt Field from Field Development, along with John Durkin, who's the site contractor from Onyx for this portion of the project. And we appreciate the board seeing us this evening and letting us give you an update on the project. So there's two things that we wanted to do for you tonight. The first was to give you an update on the status of the project. And I think Mr. Layden, covered some of that. And ultimately, given where we are at the project and because some of the difficulties that we've had as a result of the pandemic, to ask for a short extension of the soil removal permit so that we can complete the work. So the status of the work and Mr. Durkin can certainly give you and Mr. Field more detail and color to it. But in short, we've removed about 70% of the material that needs to be removed for the construction of the single family homes. It's about 110,000 cubic yards out of the 160,000 that are called for in the soil removal permit. The original permit, as Mr. Layden mentioned, was allowed through June 15th. And unfortunately, and despite our best efforts, because of some COVID-related delays, we are where we are in the project, and we have still some more to go on this. The basic background of it is that the municipal projects really slowed, and those were kind of the primary customers that we had in mind for taking the earth material from the site for us. And a lot of that work really slowed over the summer and into the fall. Fortunately, most of that is now really coming back online. I think in April, we were able to remove 10,000 cubic yards of material. In May, we're at 15,000 yards so far. So it's moving much more quickly now that those other projects that we were kind of dependent on because we needed a place to send this material are coming back online. Another complicating factor for us in the beginning was that a significant portion of the material, I think up to half of the material, was originally slated for a particular project, I think in Tewksbury, and Mr. Durkin and Mr. Field can certainly correct me on that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to secure the permit in time to actually use this material for that project. And so that was sort of one big fell swoop that would have given us a good a place to send this material, and we didn't have it. So because of that, we've been working very diligently and very hard to complete the project, but we are falling just a little bit short of the June 15th deadline. And so we're asking the board for an additional 90 days on the permit so that we can finish up that site work in order to move forward with the single family homes.
Okay, so up through September 15th.
That's right. And Mr. Durkin and Mr. Field can certainly give you some more detail and background on how we got to where we are and the project kind of going forward.
Right.
And I know there's been a plan provided as well. Sorry.
Right. No, I appreciate that. So just to give, I know there was some information, a summary shared in the packet by Mr. Layden, but Selectman DeCosta and myself did walk the site with Mr. Field and Mr. Durkin, and Mr. Layden was there as well, which was very helpful to us. And so I'd like to actually hear from Mr. Durkin, maybe if he's available. I see that he's on the call, just to give us an update on on the process going forward.
Yeah, hi Cindy. Hi
Hi,
board.
how are you?
Good evening. Sorry, I'm blowing it in sideways here, but I made it on time. Yeah, so really, David hit it on the head. I mean, municipal projects really were slow from the end of March last year until really this spring. I think there was a lot of question marks that were in the air as far as how to work safely side by side on these public projects, and they reduced capacity. So, you know, even though the construction industry is busy right now, the safety protocols during the pandemic forced basically most public projects to work at half staff. And they also then had breaks for cleaning and things like that needed to happen to keep job sites safe. Some projects just pulled the plug and said, you know, we're not gonna work. We're just gonna wait till the vaccine's distributed. We're going to get the projects going next spring. Hopefully by then things have settled. A lot of budgets were in concern because towns were picking up a lot of bills they weren't sure if they're going to get reimbursed by, you know, the government for. And I mean, you guys probably know as well as I, that's been a ongoing effort to make sure that the economy keeps moving. We've done our best. We surely could have been done by now. There's no question in our mind. And when we agreed to it last year, we thought it would be not a non-issue. And then winter hit, got really cold. Most of these projects work from April 15th to November 15th. And where we got the permit late in last year, we kind of only had the fall to distribute some material. And we really couldn't count on making any promises to anybody until we had the permit. So it really put us in a situation where we were scrambling in the fall. And then the projects just didn't kick off until really, I'd say late March, early April this year. And I think as David expressed, I mean, it's been extremely busy. We're still controlling the dust pretty well, I think. We're still holding up our end of the bargain, keeping the screening plan away from the adjacent homes as best we can. And, you know, I think it's going to come to an end very soon, but we just can't make the deadline we promised last summer. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Durkin. So two things, and I want to acknowledge that Mr. Mullen was there on that site walk with us as well. I'd like to just ask, we have town council on the phone. We have Chris Heap with us on the call. Chris, as far as the permit itself, what's the legal ramifications of this request for an extension, if any?
So as everyone has, I think, already noted, the permit has a deadline of June 15th for the fields to complete all the work. If there is work remaining to be done after June 15th, I think, you know, they've made the request for a 90-day extension. I think that could be handled with an amendment of the permit itself if the board is so inclined.
Okay.
So yeah, it would just be we could, with the board's approval, we can prepare a minor modification of the permit itself to extend it from June 15th to September.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. So I appreciate Mr. McKay and Mr. Durkin's summary of how we got to this point. I can certainly appreciate, you know, that the pandemic caused the delays. You know, there was many. The pandemic had an impact on many of us in many different ways, and this project's probably just another example of that. From the select board's perspective, our concern are the abutters and the residents that are impacted by this ongoing project, and that is something that we had discussed with Mr. Durkin and Mr. Field when we did do the site walk a few weeks ago. They have, you know, shared with us in depth the impact that they've experienced because of this project. I felt better being actually physically on the site and hearing, you know, just the difference with the noise, the way the site's been kind of configured at this point, that hopefully that the impact on them won't be as much as it has been in the past. But that being said, I know one of the things that we talked about were our hours of operation. And that there would be no work performed on the weekends on site. And I just wanted I see Mr. Fields on the call. I just want to make sure that we're still in agreement with that aspect. Okay. And the other thing I just wanted to possibly raise as well is, the way the site's being configured, it does appear that there's not going to be as many issues with dust and noise and things like that. But I would like to see if we do hear from residents, issues with their pools or with dust or with anything like that. If there's some way that we could come back to you, Mr. Field, and you would be able to maybe work with the abutters to help mitigate some of that ongoing impact with abutters, if there are issues going forward as the project continues, because they have had they've had a lot of impact. Summer's here, school's out, the pandemic's lifted, people are going to be out and about, and we want to just get this wrapped up as quickly as possible, as I know you do as well. But also really, the board's concern is, unless my colleagues don't agree with me, is really just the impact on the abutters at this point. So I'll open it up to the board to see if you have any comments or questions about this request for an extension.
The other thing that we had mentioned, Cindy, on the sidewalk, and we had asked was, and Mr. Durkin had said that he would agree to it. I think Mr. Mullen brought it forward to us that they no longer use they don't use a rock crusher to crush the large stones that are on there. They're going to incorporate those into the embankment or into doing a riprap wall, that kind of thing. So that would in fact be probably the loudest piece of equipment on the site. So if we eliminate that as a possibility, I think that assuages some of the noise concerns for some of the neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah, we're amental to that from Onyx, and I believe Matthew agrees. We did talk about that, and we would totally agree to that. Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from members of the board? Sorry, Chuck, were you not done? Sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't done yet. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
As far as, so obviously no weekends, no Saturdays and Sundays, and then hours of operations. What do we agree on? 11 to 2?
What?
It's not a meeting with Matthew unless I get one of those out of him.
We would agree, no Saturdays at all, Chuck. We'd like to get to, a clean starting point to let some of our customers know if that's the way this goes, just to make sure we don't screw up their schedule. So if we could have till June 1st to enact that, we would appreciate that, just to say, as of June 1st or June 15th, whenever the permit lapse. I just want to give enough notification to people that are coming in for material on Saturdays.
For me, I think that sounds reasonable. You did have a permit through June 15th, which included the Saturday. So if you can get it done by June 1st, that would be better for the abutters. But if it is through whatever that is, the 12th, the last Saturday that you would potentially be operating.
Yeah, I know that I believe this Saturday there's already some scheduled work, but I think that after this Saturday we can make that happen.
Okay.
John.
And the hours, so I think we adjusted the morning hours, right?
We said 7 a.m., but we wouldn't work past 5. What we agreed, I think, or what we
agreed to.
Yeah.
So I'll ask Mr. Mullen and Ms. Napoli, because my notes said 9 to 4. So Cindy corrected me and said she thought it was 9 to 5. But
we had said 7 o'clock, Chuck, on site.
Yeah, most of the vehicles are leaving before that first round, of traffic, if we can. So it would really screw us up if we did 9 to, most construction sites close at 3. So, and we'd like to start at 7. I wouldn't mind shaving the back end of it to 4 p.m. if that helped, but
I think that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
That was my, if I may, Madam Chair, that's my recollection. It was 7 to 4. That was the
all right. I remember the 4, and then I thought in some of the notes in the summary from maybe Joe, it said 9 to 5, and I remember the 4 o'clock. I wasn't so sure about the earlier one.
Yeah, we could do the 7 to 4. I think that wouldn't impact the schedule, majorly at all, and I think we'd still get it done on time. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be good, John.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Nope. Okay. I'm going to assume that we have some abutters on the call.
Yes. First, we have Carrie. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you. I'm Carrie Johnson, 5 Sleigh Ride Lane. And I just wanted to really thank Chuck DeCoste for really keeping us updated on all that's going on, because this has really been a long process for us. I guess I'm just concerned. It was somewhat surprising to hear that there was little work done last summer, because it was a dust bowl in my neighbor's backyard where the kids could hardly swim in the pool. It was filled with dust all summer. So, and I'm just curious, if the September 15th deadline isn't met, what does that mean? It just, this project just seems to be going on and on. My son and I have severe asthma. My son was on many breathing treatments last summer because when he would go outside, he was impacted by all of the dust in our yard. And this is a neighborhood with 25 kids. And, you know, we're constantly telling them to stay away from the construction area. They're curious little kids. So the fence is up there and we appreciate that, but they're curious kids. And it's been a long going process and we did not expect it to go this long. So I drive by there and it's hard to believe that this would be done September 15th. And I guess I'm just asking from the select board, what happens come September 15th and it's not done?
Okay, good question. What are the thoughts on that? I mean, Mr. Field, Mr. Durkin,
I'm very confident we're going to be done, and I believe John is as well.
okay.
I mean, I want
to carry the question.
Cindy,
Right.
our plan is to try to grade all those slopes out. We sent a diagram showing the phases, which we may want to throw up and show, and so people can see the progression as it's happening. And I can explain how that will be approached if we want to share that document. But Carrie, you know, we want to get done as soon as we can as well. I promise you that. And last year was an extremely dry year. We were in a severe drought. And I think we have better control over the dust this year. We're down into a hole, and we have a dust sprayer over there that now is not at the top of the hill where the highest wind is, which blows the water away from the dust. I think we're going to have very effective control, and I hope that we can make it a little bit more peaceful for you and your family and all the kids in the neighborhood as we wrap this project up. That's our goal here. But I am very confident that September 15th we'll have the slopes graded and be seeding, which is prime stabilization weather to try to get some grass to grow on those slopes so that you're not looking at those dirt hills behind your properties anymore. If we're not done by September 15th, I believe something has gone wrong. I do confidently believe that we can make that happen easily.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's hard. There was a lot of activity, so I was just surprised to hear that there wasn't activity last summer because that was not the case. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I do have the plan that Mr. Durkin was referencing. If you'd like me to share screen so that everyone can see it, and maybe he can just walk through what the next 3 months look like.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Madam Chair, if I could just jump back to Kerry's question relative to what if it doesn't happen by the 15th? I think we can come to some sort of agreement. I mean, Mr. Field, Mr. Durkin, their counsel is here. Our counsel is here. Mr. Mullins here as the policing authority. Is there between all of us, can we come up with some sort of an agreed upon, whether it's a fine per day or something to that effect? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be taken care of within the 90 days, and I hope everybody hopes that's the case. But just as an added incentive, is that something we could impart here?
If I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
There are opportunities if there's a violation of the permit to issue fines or penalties. But I do want to caution that the field development does have 3 building permits for that site as well for the houses. So as they wrap up one, the others will pick up. So I don't want it to be misconstrued that they didn't meet their deadline because they started house construction. So just want to make the abutters aware that there will still be activity on the site. They could be fully done with their soil removal aspect of the permit, but they will still be doing other excavation work to put in foundations, driveways, grading, lawns, septic systems. So there will be continued work on the site for, I would say 3 houses. You're probably looking, depending, doing one and then seeing how that one goes before 2 more are built. It could be a longer time at that aspect, but it won't be in conjunction with the soil removal permit at that time.
Okay. All right. So to Mr. DeCoe's statement, can we put in those contingencies, a daily fine if the removal goes beyond the proposed September 15th deadline? Is that something the board wants to do? Anyone?
I hate to be doing that on the fly, Madam Chair. I don't know. While we have counsel here, I don't know, maybe you can give us some guidance as to, absent anything new, what is our authority in the context of what we're talking about right now, just the 90-day extension?
Well, the existing permit does have a penalty built in, which is that there's a $50,000 bond in place that becomes due currently on June 15th. But I expect that if you're extending the deadline to September, we would extend the calling of the bond to that date as well. So that's a bond of $50,000, and that's not it's not a punitive bond, that's a performance bond. So if they come to the end of mid-September and they haven't completed all the soil removal work,
we have our enforcement mechanism already in place.
We could become the owners of the $50,000 bond and complete the work ourselves.
Oh. Wasn't looking for that part of it.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Madam Chair, may I touch on that as well?
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. McKay.
Thank you, through you. So I think there's actually sort of 3 enforcement mechanisms that the town already has at its disposal, 2 of which you've just heard from, which is the enforcement that the building inspector has through the soil removal bylaw and the other general bylaws in the town. So you have that. You have what Mr. Heap just referred to with respect to the bond, and then the third piece of it is that the permit would expire on September 15th. So if we were to need any additional time, which no one anticipates, that would be at the pleasure of the board to either allow or not allow. So there's every incentive, I think, for us to make sure that we get our work done on time. And the only reason that we're here now, having not gotten it done, is just because of some, because of the circumstances related to the pandemic, which I think we would all admit has gone on a lot longer than most of us had hoped and certainly anticipated. So we don't think that any of these enforcement issues are going to be an issue that you're going to have to worry about them. But there are plenty of enforcement opportunities and mechanisms available to the town in the event that things don't go the way we're telling you they're going to go.
Okay. All right. So based on the information that was shared here this evening, are there any other questions or comments from the board regarding this request?
There's one more hand raised.
Okay.
So you want to let them in?
Sure. We have Jennifer Fife.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so
Good.
much for letting me speak. So I'm on 9 Sleigh Ride Lane, directly behind the site. Kind of gonna say similar things to what Carrie said. Hard to believe. When we were speaking about this with you guys on many of the calls last year, it was in the summer and the work was at its worst and the dust was at its worst. So it's hard to believe that there was a slowdown in work because it was very disruptive last summer. It's quieted down over the winter. Our, windows are closed and we're not out as much. So it's not as disruptive, but it's still very disruptive as far as eyesores and noise goes. so it was very discouraging to hear that. And I had a feeling. I had reached out to Joe back in March when I looked in my backyard and realized that I don't think they're going to meet this September 15th date. June 15th date. So it's just, very, just very discouraging to hear that now this is going to go on through another summer. There is a large mountain of rubble behind my home. So it's hard to believe that they can control the dust that's coming off of that. It's well above our tree line. So it's constant dust, noise, and I expect it's going to get louder now that the summer's here and we're outside. My kids are outside. We had a pool last year that was just constantly covered in dust and dirt. I mean, our whole yard is, honestly, and including our deck. So it's just to find out that we're going to have to deal with this for a whole nother summer is so extremely discouraging. And again, it's just hard to believe that there was a slowdown in work when it was literally constant. So, I mean, does it have to be 90 days? Can they get it done in 60 days? Can they get it done in 30 days? Like, I guess, is there other options other than just this 90 days? Can we put pressure to get it done sooner?
Thank you, Jennifer. So that's an interesting question. So a couple of things. I mean, we're limiting the hours. We're cutting back, no weekends. What do we say, 9 to 4? So what if?
7 to 4.
7 to 4.
Oh, 7 to 4. I'm sorry. And I don't know that it's possible for you to work 7 days a week, but maybe get the job done sooner. Is that a possibility, John?
No, physically at this point, I think it would be an unattainable task.
Okay. So is Jennifer is she still on the call?
One of our big concerns, Cynthia, if Jennifer's still listening, I mean, is we were hoping to get June 15th so that we could get some early spring stabilization seeding happening. I think if we shorten it up now, even if we did get the majority of the soil out in 2 months, it still puts us in August. And then we're spreading topsoil, and the dust situation will be worse at that point. Right now, the berm that holds in all the stockpiles of soil is growing grass and stable. When it rains, it doesn't wash. When it's dry, it doesn't blow. I mean, there's definitely exposed soil stockpiles, but we've tried to put the tailings up at the top of the hill, which don't have any soil in them. They're primarily just rock to try to reflect the noise. And that was our best effort to try to keep the soil from migrating into the other people's yards and pool areas. But I think that with the September 15th finish, and we're grading slopes and sections, which I can walk you guys through that diagram if you want to put it up, which would give you a month by month kind of projection on how we're going to do this. That way, we're stabilizing the site and working our way out of it in a hopefully least disruptive manner, so we can get this place looking presentable and get the dust under control.
Okay.
Like Ed was mentioning, I think, the construction's still going to be going on, so it's not a complete elimination of dust, but now they're at least down in a hole which contains the dust. Last summer, we were up on a plateau trying to dig a hole to get the equipment down, 1 for noise and 2 for dust. So I would say that last summer was worse than they should expect this summer. But
okay. All right. Thank you, John. And any other questions from the board on this at this point? Okay.
Jennifer still she raised her hand again, Madam Chair.
She did. Jennifer, are you there still?
Hi. Yes. Sorry.
Hi. Yeah. No. Go ahead.
No, I apologize. So I mean, the hours are one thing. That's fine. I mean, 7 to 4, 7 to 5. I mean, what? Does it really matter? I think it's more like concerning too, like the large mountain that's behind my home. Like, what is happening with that? Is that going away? Like, is that going to be something I'm looking at for the rest of my, life here at 9 Sleigh Ride Lane? I'm like, it just sounds like that's something that they're keeping and just going to seed.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think it would be important to let Mr. Durkin display the procedures going forward so that could answer some of these questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so if you're standing in Ayer Road looking into the site where Sleigh Ride would be on the backside, if you're standing on 110 looking at the site, the right embankment that's shown in pink is our target area to complete first. And we anticipate within the next 2 weeks, we'll have that whole area graded. And a lot of the cobbles and that Jennifer's up on top of the mound are to be moved down and spread in that embankment so that the material that's underneath that mound can be removed next, which is the blue section that you see here. And while the blue section is being removed, the green section is shown as phase 2 because that's already been removed. What has to happen is the topsoil that's underneath those tailings, once they're moved, needs to be respread on the green section. So we'll be doing the right side, taking the topsoil, spreading that, seeding it, going over the left side where it had already been removed, spreading topsoil there and seeding that. And then the last section will be the blue section of the project. That is where the majority of the stockpile is sitting currently, and that material is to be used to restore the slopes. So that'll be one of the last sections we complete. And each one has about a month timeline on it. So, you know, as we progress through it, you should see in the next 2 weeks, the pink section get completed. About a month from that, so 6 weeks from now, the green section completed, and then the rear section will be somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks to complete because that has the most material on it.
Okay, so, but to Jennifer's question, John, that the blue section, that's going to come down.
Correct. That whole section, that entire embankment that's visible will not be visible. It'll be on grade again. And the view of the Pepsi plant will be, you'll be able to see Pepsi again once that's removed.
Okay, and we think that will be removed by September 15th? Or is that a later phase?
Nope, definitely before September 15th.
Okay.
I anticipate you'll see it being moved in early August. It'll be dwindling in size starting in early August.
Okay. All right.
So still lots of dust and disruption, like from that is I mean, just digging up that mountain that's over my house alone is going to create a lot of that. So.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be very disruptive.
Yeah, we have to move the soil. So, I mean, we can't promise to be none, Jennifer, but we'll do our best to control it as much as we can.
Okay.
So
you can come clean my pool then and dust my deck.
Well,
so is there some way that Matthew, John, you guys could offer just that? I mean, a pool cleaning service or pressure treating the deck or the back of there's really 3, maybe 4 homes that are most heavily impacted. So is there some way that we can put some sort of mitigation? I mean, I don't think it's terribly unreasonable to ask to have a pool cleaning service come in and clean the pool a couple times and pressure washing to do the deck or siding or of the house.
Oh, I forgot my chair.
I mean, Matt, David, I mean, we could speak about that, try to come up with something.
Yeah, why don't Jennifer, you still on the line?
Did we lose her again?
She's here.
She's here? Jennifer, could
Hi, yes, sorry.
that's okay.
Baseball field.
Would you have time? Are you around tomorrow or the next day where John and I could come and talk to you?
Sure.
Sure. All right. So I'm sure Joe Layden has your phone number or an email that I could get and schedule something with you.
He sure does. He has both. So you can reach out to me anytime I'm home.
All righty. I'll take care of it tomorrow.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for the disruption.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
You're very welcome.
Okay. All right. So any other questions from the board on this, comments at this point? Matt's going to follow up with Jennifer. Matt and John will. That will be helpful, I think. And then, Chris, are you clear on the language for the extension as far as hours of operation and things like that?
Yep, I've got we're proposed extension from June 15th to September 15th. Hours of operation are going to be limited to 7 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And there will be no work on the weekends beginning the weekend after next.
And if I may, Madam Chair, no crushing on site.
Yep, true.
Okay. All right,
I
great.
don't believe we have, I didn't see a motion that contains any of this. Do we have anything that we could act on here now, Anthony or council? Do you want, one of you guys want to craft something? I hate to, I don't mind making things up on the fly, but this has legal ramifications, so I'd kind of like to get it right.
If I may, Madam Chair, Paul, we could work with Chris and he could have something, I would assume, ready for the next meeting, June 7th. So that's within the by the 15th, and we'll be doing it the legal way.
That sounds right. That way you have the amended permit in front of you when you actually vote it.
Okay. All right, perfect. That will work.
Great.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate everybody trying to work together.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, guys.
Mary McKay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the residents.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have discussion regarding board and committees training. Mr. Ansaldi, you want to lead us into this?
Madam Chair, we were having a discussion. We had some training opportunity that was passed on from the Mass Selectors Association that we did share with all the other boards and committees, and certainly it's a good idea at least once a year to go through some of the most important things like the open meeting law and how to run a meeting and how to conduct and what's eligible for executive session. So certainly in the past, I think the town clerk has done it and done it admirably. But there's also a part of the services that we are paying from, the Iris and Harrington, which is our town council, can do that type of training as well as other training for boards and committees, because it's so important that we've had boards and committees and all the intentions were in the right place, but there's been motions that have been made during public input period on boards, which is really a violation of the open meeting law. There's been certain executive sessions that it was questionable whether or not the right procedures were followed in order to have an executive session, in addition to whether or not they qualify for an executive session. So there's been a number of things over the certainly that I've seen since I've been here, and it's happened before too. So somehow if the board strongly encourages some of these board members as they volunteer, I know that you all greatly appreciate everything that residents do to be part of these boards. It's so important that they have to follow the rules and regulations, because when you're on a board or committee, it's like you're an employee of the town. You follow our policies and our bylaws. So, I don't think that that's something that we probably stress enough. And maybe there's something else that we can even do, a welcome packet or something. And I know Diane Corey has done that in the past, and I don't know how the board feels, but it's something that we just kind of want to stop the discussion on that.
Right. Thank you. So two things. So the select board, we actually did, when I first got on the board, I worked with Diane, and we actually did come up with like a whole little welcome packet for newly appointed board members and committee members. I don't know if that's still being disseminated. I think it was coming from the select board at the time that we would make our appointments, but I think that kind of fell by the wayside somewhere along the line, and we haven't been doing that as much, or we stopped doing that. But the other thing too, I think would be really helpful if we could utilize Myers and Harrington to do just some sort of training, and then that way it's more of an interactive Q&A type engagement with these board and committee members, and however we can set that up, just so it's not so time consuming, but it's done in a productive manner, so it's not time consuming for Myers and Harrington either. But I think it is important, for all the reasons that you brought up. There's a certain way, people don't know how to write an agenda or how it's supposed to get posted. They're not quite sure what goes in meeting minutes, and things like that. So I think it would just be helpful to educate everybody as much as we can on those proper procedures for all the reasons that you mentioned, Mr. Insaldi. So if that's something the board is interested in doing, especially now that we're going through this exercise of appointing new committee members, that maybe we can work with Myers and Harrington on that and see, how we could schedule something like that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's a great idea.
Certainly. Oh, sorry, Chuck.
No, I agree that it's a great idea, and I think something we should, we kind of throw people to the wolves, somewhat, and we tell them to go get sworn in by Diane. Diane tells them to go do the ethics training, and then they show up and they're expected to know how to post an agenda, or I think it's good for us to take the lead and educate people as much as possible so we can get the highest and best output.
Okay.
Periodically in the past, we've done things that we had, like an all boards meeting or an all chairs meeting, and sometimes that would just be to update everybody on what everyone else is working on.
Yeah.
In the budget process, we've fiddled around with it a little bit, but we've, had that all day session where everybody has a piece of it. I just think if we leave it to everybody to kind of doing their own, it just gets put on the desk and nobody gets around it. But if you had it where, okay, everybody on all the committees knows that everyone else in the committees is going to show up either live. Now we could probably do it live rather than virtual, have it at the Kiever or have it in some big function room where we have enough bodies and, and have a set agenda with Pickett and Miaris. Miaris and Harrington, going back a generation, Miaris and Harrington doing their, presentation on all these topics we're talking about. That's probably the way to get it done is, if everybody knows that everyone else is going to show up and they don't show up, then they'll stand out by their absence. One way to do it. The other thing, Madam Chair, you indicated one of the things that you'd initiated when you took over as chair last year. You had also had a letter going out to the chairs of the various committees reminding them their responsibilities, and that's probably, that was going to be an annual thing too, and that's a good place for it to happen too. All these communication mechanisms, the more often and the more regular that they happen, the better we are to accomplish this.
Right. Yeah, Anthony. So I'll send that to you, Mr. Insaldi. So you can have that. And so I think that would be helpful. And I like Paul's idea too about just bringing everybody in, like we kind of did like a super Saturday with the budget process. Why not do it with the boards, committees? And I think it's a great way for people to get to know each other too.
Right.
And I think that would be really good. I think that would probably be the easiest way to approach it on top of the letter, just the reminder letters to them, to the committee chairs. So
you can do it at one of
the setting that up. Would you
do
say,
it at one of the, I was going to say we could do it at one of the schools and have maybe John Overcash can make a pasta dinner or something like that, and then have something going on, like the middle school cafeteria. And we can have a little pasta dinner and then have some presentation going on the stage.
Right. Yeah, we can work that out. All right, good.
Sounds good.
All right, excellent.
Anthony, you going to follow up on that? Is that you taking that chair or?
Yeah, I'll wait for Cindy to send me some of the information. I'll talk to the town clerk. It's a good project for after town meeting. Even once we eventually go out for a new executive assistant here, it'd be a nice project for them to take on as well. Just getting acclimated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can take the lead on that, Paul. Right after town meeting, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because Diane she was very helpful in the past with that, so we can definitely revisit that. All right, good.
Hey, right after town meeting, Anthony, could you do something to your office? I'm sick of looking at that one coat hanger.
That's a great coat hanger right there.
Yeah,
it's a diploma here and lunchbox here.
All right, we're almost at the finish line here.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't
Shiny object.
you see
Shiny object.
sidetracking us. Okay, so now we are on to select board article assignments. Item 6.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm just going to share my screen and where we stand so far. So just to give you a little bit of the history on the bottom, right now, Cindy, you've showed for 4 articles, Chuck 8, Paul 5, Joe 5, Matthew. I'm sorry if I missed an email or anything from you, but certainly we have plenty left for you.
Anthony, I see one error already. That was not one of the ones I requested unless you're assigning it to me.
So Paul, you had said that if there's anything else that I wanted to assign, so I did.
Well,
You're
that's
on the
fine. I just want to make sure.
committee.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're on the personnel committee, and this is a joint article with the personnel board, the compensation grid. I thought that we could give that one to you, if you don't mind. And Chuck, where you been working with me on collective bargaining, I just threw that another one to you. I thought it made sense, so I have to give you more work. And I know you volunteered for 7. I figured 8 is a nice round even number.
That's the number of members of the Economic Development Committee.
That's right, exactly. So, and then the yellow
Until
ones.
we appoint another.
Yeah. So the yellow ones are what I identified as select board articles or joint articles that we're still looking for somebody to take on. Certainly.
Can you scroll down, Anthony? I thought you had given me one at the bottom of the list that I didn't. It was the soil removal one, which was not. I didn't request it in any event.
Oh, I maybe I misunderstood in the email. I thought I saw that.
No, it's 30, 35 and 36. I'm not opposed to taking any of them, but I thought someone else had an interest in that one.
So before we get too much into the horse trading, there is an email in my outbox which is still refusing to send. Oh wait, I think it just went. Anyway, so yeah, you didn't miss an email, but the Exchange server decided it wasn't important. I think I was going to the senior residential, which is not taken right now, I think.
Right.
It is now. You got it.
Woohoo! And land use department but I mean, I'm not.
I grabbed those 2, Matthew, or I requested them anyways, only because I was working with the Board of Health, particularly on their language.
That's fine.
As part of that, and then also conversations with Chris Stoddard and council on the highway department stuff.
Oh, and then the tax and income abatement, 23.
23, I have right now with Cindy.
Do you want to trade, Cindy? Do you want the transfer of land to the Affordable Housing Trust, 33?
I
have that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I gave that to Cindy too.
Yeah.
Well, 23 is something we've been working on for a while too, right, Cindy?
Right. Yeah.
23 or
yeah,
33.
the abatements, I'd prefer to keep that one because we have been working on that for a while.
That 37 soil removal bylaw, as they say, I was not looking for that. I don't know if anyone has an interest in it. I'll take any assignments, but that's not one I'm claiming.
So that, in all likelihood, we're going to pass that one off to town council.
True.
And that's
Yeah,
just
a lot of these we aren't even going to be asked to speak to
They might-
anyway.
Right.
Correct.
that's just to try to clean up the language so we don't get tripped up like another soil removal
Right.
permit.
So I can start up at the top. I don't
right,
think we need 1 and 2.
I mean, Anthony, if you want to throw 1, 2, 4, and 5 on me, in all likelihood, those are all going to be in the call of the articles anyway. So I'll take 1, 2, 4, and 5. Bring me up to an even 12.
Thanks, Chuck. Matthew, I don't have your email, but if you want to just tell me, do you have others, or do you want just these highlighted ones that need to be done, and then that soil bylaw?
I guess, I mean, I'll take the soil bylaw. I don't, I can look into it. I don't know. I probably know as much as anyone.
Right.
Exactly.
I had the ones that I had listed were the tax and income abatement adjustments, the senior residential bylaw, the transfer of land, and the land use department.
All right, so right now, then I would have you with the senior residential bylaw, that's still open, the soil bylaw, and if I could give you
Capital's good
Five,
stuff.
nine.
The capital, like,
You get to talk about trucks and stuff.
yeah, capital items.
9.
Yeah, most of it, like, these would be.
9 and 11, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cheryl would be there at town meeting, and she'd probably speak to any.
Yeah, sure.
articles anyways.
Cheryl who?
Ouch.
But you can also talk to the individual department heads too. Or, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. So 511, maybe Long Lake.
Yeah, sure.
Who's got 6?
6 is a water department article. If somebody would just,
Oh, so we don't need anybody representing that, or?
it's just a water commission. It's the water commissioner's article on their operating budget. So it's very, I don't know.
We don't usually assign on that.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, that's why I didn't highlight that, Chuck.
Got it.
If there's a
Same
question on that,
Same with PRCE.
yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah, same with PRCE, right?
The retained earnings, Anthony, if somebody does have a question from the crowd, who's prepared to answer that? Is that going to be Cheryl or the treasurer or FinCom or who?
That would be Cheryl, followed up by if
Sean.
by Sean. But at that point, I think that we would know where they stand if there was an issue. But I think all things were looking good, and that was something that would probably.
Well, I wasn't raising a question. I'm just saying, sometimes the crowd surprises you with the, we got to have somebody prepared to stand up and answer it.
Yeah, Cheryl will be at town meeting, so she'll answer on any of the financial articles, just as in the past.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that would pretty much cover us, unless the board sees anything that I might be missing.
I'll take LCTV. I can't, the 25.
Okay.
I can't imagine anyone that's going to be controversial, but.
The commission will probably handle that anyway.
Yeah, right.
And before anybody gets their heart set on making a long speech on any of these, if we have a consent agenda, most of these articles get approved by.
All the articles, yeah.
All the articles.
And we're not going to have anyone assigned to the pollinator. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct. So I think that will cover it, unless the board has anything else.
No, and it looks good.
And sometime between now and town meeting, somebody will be sending us out a little cheat sheet on
Right. I was gonna say,
related
you gotta
topics.
circulate that, right?
Yeah, we'll be working on, Paul, the town meeting books. It'll have some backup information that's pertaining to some of these articles that we have. And yeah, we'll be working on that between now and town meeting. Get that to you as soon as we can.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So next on the agenda, meeting minutes from May 10th and May 17th. Did everyone have a chance to look at those? Were there any suggested revisions?
Not necessarily revision, but I know that on one of the, when I was giving my update for items that could be donated, I mentioned the Haribo. And I know Sue Raymond really appreciated when I said, the red ones are more gooder. That's just because Sue's going to be listening to this, and I just wanted to give her another laugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to make an amendment on anything.
No,
but,
not on that.
no, I'm going to another topic, Chuck. I'm sorry, but on a similar note, when the board discussion came up on the town website from the 510 meeting, I know I agreed with the recommendations that Cindy had made, but I also wanted to add in that we not only implement those changes now. I see some of them have already happened, which is terrific, but that we, I just want to get on the table the notion of kind of revisiting, a broader approach to reconsidering our website.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't need to make that an amendment in here. It'll be in this meeting minutes, right?
Right. All right, good.
We ready for motion then, Madam
We
Chair?
are.
Okay. And I will move that the select board vote to approve the regular session meeting minutes of May 10th and May 17th, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
What's that?
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. The meeting minutes of May 10th and May 17th are approved as written. And that concludes our meeting for this evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
I
Mr. DeCoste?
I'm going to resist the temptation to sound like a pirate. Mr. DeCosta's aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. So that concludes our meeting for this evening. We will be back on Monday, June 7th.
June 7th.
Is the next regularly scheduled meeting of the select board. So we will see you then. Good night, everybody.
We'll see you on Memorial Day at 10 a.m. right on the Common.
Right. What is are we at 10 a.m. on the Common, Mr. Ansaldi?
I haven't heard an update, but we can find out about that. And
Okay.
I think, well, that was the last it was presented to us, I think, anyway.
Right, it
But
was.
if there is an update, let us know.
Yeah.
And let the town know.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.